Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Empower Hour with Molly and myself. We are so excited to be here and to have you here, whether you are watching us live or if you are catching the replay sometime in the amazing future. Let us know how it is out there in the future. What we have for you today is we have some exciting news about our upcoming guest at the end of the month, at the end of March, and I'll let Molly tell you about that. I don't want to ruin the surprise. And then we are also going to do a centering exercise, as we like to start all of our Empower Hours, because this is an hour dedicated just to you and your wellness and your mental well-being. So we will start to ground ourselves. And then after that, we will see what the magic hat has in store for us. So Molly has a bag of tricks that have a variety of topics that we don't even remember what we wrote down in there because we wrote it like over a month ago. And so it will be a fresh surprise for all of us to see what topic we're going to be discussing. As always, just want to remind you real quick that if you have anything specific you want to talk about, we don't have to let the magic hat decide. You can send us a comment and we'll be able to see it. The magic of the interwebs. And we can talk about whatever question or topic you have in mind for us. So without further ado, let's get Molly on screen here. Hey, Molly, how are you today?
Doing well, doing well. We're just kind of doing some neat, changey, uppy thingies
Yes.
as we're starting out the Empower Hour. We're trying some new formats, some new options. So thanks for sticking with us as we learn in real time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you want me to start right off with Joe?
Yeah.
Johanna.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's not build too much suspense.
So Johanna is better known as Mama Cuisine. She's a local. Well, really, I think a celebrity blogger, but she will be our speaker coming up at March 26th at 11 a.m. So you're more than welcome to join as one of our collab members. And we're going to be talking, instead of Mama Cuisine was a lot about entertaining and food and things like that. She's going to talk with us about her newest venture, which is wealth management. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on. We'll kind of weave it through, but it's really about not only about wealth management, but women and worthiness and what we ask for and what we expect and how we treat ourselves and how we treat our pocketbook and how we treat our investments, not only in ourselves, but in our future. So that's basically that. I'm going to go on mute real quick because I'm also in a chaos area. So I hope that's okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Molly. Yes, we're really excited about Johanna. And if you're not subscribed to our newsletter yet, get on it. Go to meetfutureu, the letter u.com. And you can go to the free resources tab and sign up there. We send out about one email a week, so we don't want to be in your inbox too much. We try to just send one per week, unless we got something really special going on, and then we might tell you about it a little bit more. But without further ado, let us get centered, shall we? So a lot of times we like to focus on some kind of breathing exercise. I absolutely love those, but I think we've done quite a few of those, and so we'll do more in the future. But I thought we'd change it up this week a little bit and do a bit of a journaling exercise. So if you have a pen and paper handy, do grab it. And I was about to say press pause, but this is live. So if you're watching live, you can't press pause. But in the future, if you're in the future, you can press pause. Go grab a pen and paper, or if you have your phone handy, which honestly, like, who doesn't these days? Or if you're at your laptop, typing is fine. It doesn't have to be handwritten. Although I will say, if you do make this, what we're going to go through, a more common practice, I would suggest writing it because it makes a different brain-body connection by having the physicality, tactileness of the writing. So what I would love for you to do is get quiet. Hopefully you're in a quiet space. And just pause. And now that we've had a bit of a breath together, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? It could be anything. You could be happy to breathe, for example. You could be happy to have room to breathe. You could be happy simply to have a roof over your head. You could be happy to have an adorable, cuddly pup next to you who wants to be a part of Empower Hour just as much as we do. It could be an amazing paycheck that you just got. Maybe you got a surprise bonus. It could be a free chocolate chip cookie that you got from the corner coffee shop. That sounds amazing. I didn't get one of those, but if you did, I'm grateful for you. So just take a couple more minutes and write down 3 things that you're grateful for. I am particularly grateful for how wonderfully sunny it has been the past 3 days in Chicago. And, you know, we don't usually have a spring here. Usually it just goes from winter straight to summer, or, you know, winter to rain and more rain and then 90 degrees. But we have had a lovely few days, and it's going to be supposedly almost 70 on Friday. So I'm going to take the pup to the lake. Okay, do you have your 3 things? Molly, how about you? Do you have your 3 things?
I do, and I got to write mine down. So
Oh, great. If you feel like sharing, love to hear it. If you not obligated though, you can keep it to yourself if you like.
well, the thing that I like about expressing gratitude is what it does is it really does change the polarity of your body. You don't think so because, you know, it's all, you think it's up in here or whatnot, but it actually does change the physiology of your body. And there's just a way of when you feel gratitude, it also pushes fear out of your brain space. So that's something to, it's like a little life hack or something. If you get in a space where you really are feeling anxious about something, really ground yourself by thinking of something that you're grateful for. And sometimes that gratitude can just be awareness of your being anxious, because awareness in and of itself is a very powerful position from which to change, you know, your mindset.
I love that. Thank you so much for going into the why behind it all. I love that. We love to, if there's one thing we love here at FutureU, is a little bit of brain science. Oh, field notes. Oh, I also love field notes. Yes, we
I
absolutely love anything neuroscience because
I I love this size of book too, because it's just the perfect size to, you know, put in your pocket or your handbag, and it just is really great. And I didn't mean to jump on your science thing, but since I was showing you that, it really is. Um, when I have these, I actually have little things inside of them that have to do with, instead of my coordinates, I put I put a little, what do you call those things when hash marks?
okay, hash mark.
Yeah, hash marks. Like if I was in a countdown, but every book has a mindset mantra, and it just is my
Ah,
way of getting those really carved into my brain.
I
So that's
love
another
that.
life hack. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the only thing about brain science I was going to say is that we like to back up the stuff that we tell you to do with actual science. It's not, some of it's woo, but it's practical woo, as I like to say.
Surgical woo. Surgical woo.
Surgical woo.
It's our band.
If we ever, I used to play bass guitar. So Molly, I don't know if you played any instruments. And I played trumpet, but that was in 3rd grade. And I don't. Did you play drums? Really? Oh, I always wanted to play drums, but um, yeah, we could totally start a little, as if we don't have enough going on. But if we're ever bored, we can start the band Surgical Woo. If you don't know what we're talking about, head over to Molly's Instagram channel where she had a fantastic post about Surgical Woo. Okay, all right. Enough of the silliness. Okay, so we are centered. Yes, I hope we are centered. If you feel like, before we move on, if you do feel like sharing what you're grateful for in the chat, please share. Sharing is caring. You might inspire someone else's gratitude, and the world could use more of that. So, all right, on to the magic hat. Oh, Molly's gonna do the Whoop, there we go. You're muted, Molly, if you want to. Do you want me to unmute you?
Thank you.
Oh,
so one thing about the Magic Hat is that these, again, Christine had mentioned earlier that we wrote these out weeks ago. So I don't, and I've never seen them after I wrote down. I don't know what's on this piece of paper. But if you have a topic that you'd like to put in the Magic Hat, you can either put it in the chat, you can put it in the comments on YouTube. You can always email us, or find us on the web in some sort of social context and just say, hey, I'd love to talk about this, and can we put this in the Magic Hat? And the Magic Hat can be anything that has to do with a life hack or just a general question. And so I'm going to show this one. I don't know if you can read it backward, but it says top 10 tips for building resilience. So resilience is...
Well, that's fun. I like that.
Well, I think that resilience is something that people... a lot of times we cultivate it without even realizing that we're cultivating it. And it's one of these, resilience is such a utilitarian skill that you're going to need it. Oh, focus is a big part of it.
Sorry. I'm over here doing tech stuff while you're talking.
That's okay. No, and so for me, I actually wrote a book about it. Circuit Train Your Brain is about daily habits that cultivate resilience. And a lot of people think about resilience as flipping a switch and bouncing back, and it's very dynamic. But resilience for me is also very much a reservoir that is determined by how much pliability you have and how much give you have. And those types of things have to do with how much you've cultivated the ability to bend. So one of the things that I do, one of the top 10 ways is honestly just really using your breath, is being very good at noticing what your breath is doing, especially when you're encountering something stressful or painful. Really train yourself to take 3 or 4 deep breaths without even thinking about it, because that is the way that you can immediately give your body what it needs in order to process something and to become more resilient and to create, again, that capacity for bending or being flexible or withstanding some sort of stressor. So I'm going to go on mute for a second because I'm sure you have a great idea as well.
So it's top 10 tips of building resilience. Did I get that right? Okay. Building resilience. One of the things that comes to mind is the taking tiny actions. I actually just started reading the book. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna try not to look it up because I literally just started this yesterday. Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and it's by Dr. Amen. It's from 2010, so it's dated for sure. But it still has, I'm like 3 or 4 chapters in, and it's already got a lot of great information about your brain and how it really affects every single thing that we do. And Molly, I think you like talking about this as well, is that even if you have the tiniest thing on your to-do list, for example, I think you've used the example of making your bed. Write it down and then check it off. And you can say to yourself, I am someone who keeps my promises because I made my bed every single day. It doesn't have to be making your bed. I, for one, am an avid non-bed maker because frankly, the dog's just going to unmake it anyways. But also that's just one of those things that just has never bothered me. It looks comfy and cozy to me when the blankets are all piled up. And not necessarily in order. I know that freaks some of you out, so I'm sorry if I'm giving some of you hives right now. But one of the things that does drive me nuts is if I happen to have unbroken down delivery boxes. If I haven't run them to the trash room, and if I see them every single time I'm coming or going in and out of the house, then every single time that's another time I'm seeing it, and my brain is logging, whether consciously or subconsciously, I haven't done that yet. I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet. And so you start to ingrain in yourself, again, subconsciously, things like I'm lazy, or I don't do the things I know I'm supposed to do, or all of that. And it starts to snowball. When you change that and you start to do those small things and you start to act on them, you build a new story for yourself, which in turn builds resilience. Dr. Amen talks about something that he calls brain reserve. And I do want to look this up because, again, the book is 15 years old. So I don't know if he has, I don't know exactly what he's revised and if this is still a thing that he talks about, but or not. But because I don't think I've heard him talk about that recently on some of the podcasts I've seen him on. However, the idea is just that the way that you treat yourself every single day either adds to your brain reserve or it detracts from your brain reserve. And so things like drinking, smoking, not getting good sleep all detract from your brain reserve, and doing things like eating fresh vegetables, getting enough hydration, not having too much caffeine, like all of those things add to your brain reserve. And so those are also things that add to your resilience in very strong and profound ways. So, okay, that was a lot for me. I didn't know I would go on such a tear there.
That's okay. So, talking about the brain reserve reminded me of something that Anita, gotta pronounce her name, Morjani. She had, I read her book, Dying to Be Me, just recently. And she talks about life force energy. So in terms of, the brain reserve made me think of that, because she basically said something similar, is that, you're either contributing or draining. Whatever, if you have a crappy breakfast, you're going to be depleting your energy. If you eat something that's healthy, you're going to be feeding yourself and things like that. So, excuse me. And then when you
Anita
were talking,
Morjani.
yes,
I
usually read like 6 books at a time, which is
I don't know how
kind of the
you do
reason
that.
why I'm in the library. I just always am reading.
I love that. I'm
yeah.
always reading too, but like I have to I can really only do one at a time. Like right now I have like 3 in my like I have 3 open, or 3 that are mid reading, but like I can't really focus on any one of them at a time, except I am focusing on this particular one I was just talking about from Dr. Amen, because it's due in like 12 days. So,
well, mine, I read 3 at a time. And what I do is I pick one that's a nonfiction book, one that's a novel, and one that's poetry or something that is lyrical, for lack of a better phrase. Because what that does for my brain, again, your mileage may vary, is that it complements and keeps my brain flexible. And a lot of times what I'll do is I will choose books that are complementary in that, the nonfiction book might be about neuroscience and the novel might be about something that has to do with someone who went through a stressful situation that stressed their brain things, which is kind of actually going off I don't know if we're going to hit all 10 at this point because we're kind of rambling, but
I was going to say 10. 10 was ambitious. I love it.
But the other thing, though, is kind of what I'm doing with this reading exercise, is that is also, for me, a way that I build resilience, because I'm stretching my brain in order to hold those concepts. And very oftentimes you'll see something in a non-fiction format that will be repeated or echoed in the novel. Actually, I just finished last night. I can't think of the name of the book. Karen Abbott was the author, but it was a book about the Everleigh sisters here in Chicago, which is one of the most famous sporting house.
Oh man, you're gonna take my Chicago card away.
Ladies of the Evening. Super spendy Ladies of the Evening.
Okay.
Where like Marshall Field's son used to go there, and so that one was just me wanting to learn about.
I live down from their house.
It's currently the Robert.
Probably shouldn't say that on live.
What is the name of the Bertrand Goldberg designed Robert Taylor housing. Robert.
Oh, uh-huh. Oh, so is this over in like the Vice District
Yes,
area of
yes,
the South Loop that I live in?
yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I do know them.
It's
Yes, yes, yes.
fascinating. It's
Yes. Okay. I didn't know that that
fascinating.
was their names. I did a
Well,
walking
that's
tour. Oh my
well.
God, they are fascinating.
What's really fascinating about these two women, and this kind of goes with resilience, is
What economical
they
businessmen.
well they reinvented themselves many times,
Yeah.
and so their real names are not what that's Minna and Ada are their first names has always been consistent, but their last names have changed, their backstory has changed. It was a fascinating biography of the two women, but it was also interspersed with the history of
Yeah.
Chicago, so it was fascinating. Anyway,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, you're gonna have to send that to me. Okay, so but I had a question about that, about you reading multiple books at the same time, and I think you touched on it just a little bit, but I want to dig into that more. So do you I suspect, I'm gonna like change the phrasing of the question. I suspect that you notice things, and God, this is actually probably gonna be hard to answer because you don't know any other way because this is how you do it. Do you think that you pick up on different topics differently from each book because you're reading three in conjunction?
yes, that's another of the methods of my madness is that
Mhm.
um, it's an immersion process for me where I get like a 360 ish
Mhm.
perspective, because sometimes what happens with people in general, and I think we're seeing it a lot with echo chambers and social
Mhm.
media, is that sometimes if you only choose one source, then you become entrenched with that specific type of view, or
Um,
myopia sets in rather. And so when I see and read different perspectives simultaneously, it gives me an opportunity to really consider multiple points of view at the same
mhm.
time, and to see if they're, and then like a everyone has one screen up. I'll look up something on my phone, I'll research a person's backstory right then. I'll go, who. So I have a very strange reading. I don't think I don't think a lot of people do that, but
I I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I know several people that read at least two books concurrently. And so the reason I asked that is, um, not fair, probably because we all have this thing in our brains called the RES or RAS, sorry, um, which stands for Reticular Activating System, and it is part of our, I believe it is part of our prefrontal cortex, which is bloop, frontal prefrontal cortex, which is also part of our executive functioning, and very important for prioritizing, planning, and all of those things non-neurodivergent people are blessed with. Uh, and um, the RAS is what is responsible for, if you have a friend that got a new car, you will suddenly start seeing that same car everywhere. That's not just because that car is highly popular all of the sudden. While maybe perhaps true, the real reason behind that is because you have now subconsciously trained your brain that this car is now important because someone you know has it. And so now your brain will be on the lookout for it. And this was really important because, um, well, scientists surmise that this was really important because back in the day when we were all nomads and had to forage for our food, we had to know what different leaves looked like so that we could understand where our food comes from, and so that those leaves would pop out at us out of the savannah, right, out of everything that is or is not there, and be able to say like that way to food or that way to water. And so that was part of our evolution from a brain standpoint. And holy hell, I sound like a nerd.
I
um,
like nerds. I like nerds, and I am
nerds,
nerds.
I love nerds.
And actually, speaking of my Instagram channel, this earlier today, I posted a story that talked about miracles, because one of the things I do every day is I pull 3 cards from the Soul Call Caller deck, which is the author of that is Amy Oscar, who's an intuitive and a friend of mine. But um, the one of the cards was engage, and so the story on Instagram that I recorded had to do with how we interact with the world and how we engage, and when we engage our own potential, we are giving the divinity or the universe or source or whatever, our higher self, an opportunity to manifest externally. And then I linked to a story that I wrote for, or a blog post that I published on Madeline Langle's blog, which total geek heaven. I can't believe when I was a kid, I read A Wrinkle in Time, and that 9-year-old girl would have never believed she would be guest blogging on Madeline Langle's blog as an adult. But anyway, digress. But anyway, I actually mentioned the reticular activating system in that blog post about miracles, because the more you see, the more you see. The more they're manifesting, and it's that also has to do with Einstein's quote about, you either believe that we live in a miraculous universe, or a universe that's not miraculous, a friendly universe, or I think I just bungled up 2 of his quotes. One is I totally did what do you call those when you do a mishmash?
Like a
What's that called? A mashup?
Yeah,
I
a
did a
mashup,
mashup of
an
two of his
Einstein
quotes.
mashup. I think
Yeah.
he'd be okay with that.
It was like they
Sorry.
were fusing in my brain, but one of them has to do with, you either believe we live in a friendly universe or not. And what's the miracle one? I gotta Google now. I gotta Google.
Well, that reminds me of the quote. I forget who said it. That whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
There we go. I found it.
Ooh, what is
Ready?
it?
It
Yes.
says there are only 2 ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is though everything is a miracle. And so I prefer
I'll
the
take
latter.
B for 500, Bob.
Yeah, ditto. And that's basically what I also said in my story, is that, even on your worst day, the fact that you exist is a miracle. You out there in YouTube land,
Yeah.
you're a miracle.
It's so true. I don't remember the math on this. However, I've seen someone work through the mathematical probability of any one of us even existing. And I know the phrase mind blowing is thrown around willy nilly, but it is truly mind blowing that, like, the chances of our existence is like nil. And yet here we are, each of us as individuals, like not just the earth, which is also. Oh, what just happened? It looked like good things happen, like something good just happened. Anyways, but the chance of like us even existing as individuals is like insane. I don't love using that word, but yes. So um very, very, very exciting stuff. And this is why I love Magic Hat, is because um we just go off onto who knows what topics we're gonna cover and explore during this Magic Hat. Like the
So
tangents abound.
this has nothing to do with resilience, but it does have to do with your brain and your consciousness. So I saw this film at the Traverse City Film Festival back in 2013 when it first came out. And it's called Coherence. It's a really old, well, not really old movie, but 2013 is, 12 years ago. And it's so.
Which, I'm sorry, that's crazy. That,
I
like,
know.
I just was telling you about this book that I was reading that was published in 2010, and I'm like, that's 15 years ago. That's
Yeah.
not allowed. That
I
is
have,
just not allowed. Anyways,
I have,
sorry.
no, I have shoes older than 15 years now. It's really pathetic. But anyway,
This
this
shirt might
movie,
be that old. No, it's not.
yeah,
Anyways.
no, it's just that's the one thing about, and it sounds so trite, but it's, you know, I can't, I just, when I think about when you hear a song like yesterday, I think I was in Trader Joe's. Where was I? But I'm literally like, my jam. There's a great song that comes over the music, and I'm just like, yeah, I know this is a 22-year-old song. I don't care. Anyway, but this movie is called Coherence, and it's about 8 couples who are intersecting with 8 other universes at the same time that are peopled by their duplicates or their whatever octopus or their whatever, and it's just a really cool. It's technically a horror movie,
They're
but it's not like
octopus?
it's not a horror movie. It's more like a good old ghost story. It's a great movie. So
Oh,
I highly encourage, if you haven't seen this movie. It's a thinker. There's
okay.
no car chases. It's called Coherence, and
Coherence.
it was published. It was released in 2013.
You know, that would be a fun side thing if we ever get tired of Magic Hat is we can start doing charades.
Oh,
Sounds
well,
like
that's what's so hilarious is that who does this?
you're right. I was gonna say it's like millennials and older. Well, this is a camera and
Yeah,
like I don't
yeah.
how do
Or
how
like
do
roll your window down. It's like,
how does Gen Alpha do a phone like
I
this?
don't
Like
know.
I
Or
don't
like,
know.
call me. Or,
Yeah. Oh,
when I was a kid, you could still dial somebody using only 5 digits. Yeah, I know. I'm going to have a
well,
Metamucil
there
computer
weren't
when I go
area codes
home.
when
And
I was a kid, so there's
all
that.
right, there we go. I
So
feel much better.
I was like, actually,
How's your
I'm not
fiber, by the
definitely.
way?
What's it?
How's your fiber, by the way?
Fiber. Oh no. Oh, that's mean. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. I'm gonna get my Metamucil.
There you go.
Moment. There you go. No, sorry. I'm having a canned margarita.
You know what's really interesting though, and this is something about the pandemic, is that I noticed that a lot of people got support hose, support stockings, got super popular.
They
In
did?
I think it had to do with people using standing desks.
Oh.
This is so far off resilience, but I don't care.
Well, listen,
It
our
has to do with taking care
waistlines
of your
need
body.
to be resilient
Yeah.
too, right?
But yeah. So anyway, but yeah, it
Wait,
was
no, sorry. Go back to that. Now I'm curious. Wait, people needed what? Support?
support hose or support stockings. You know, like the ones that you wear on a plane, so you don't get an
Yeah, like
embolism.
compression socks?
Yeah, compression socks. They totally
Yeah,
got super stylish, and I'm just like,
really?
yeah. So there's
I
probably
didn't
some
know that.
25-year-old out there who's like, yeah, I got the awesome compression socks, or
Well,
a kid.
I'm from like marathon training, like way back before the pandemic. I knew about those then, but I didn't think of those from just from standing desks. But I mean, it makes sense. Like if you need circulation, you need better circulation. Um, that's fascinating. Um, okay, wow, resilience. How do
Yeah,
we get back to that?
I
Have
don't
we gone
know.
too far afield?
I don't know. Today was just a really weird day. I think it has to do with the weather, and I also think it has to do with me coming back from getting a cold. Last week I was
Yes.
not in any shape whatsoever to
No.
talk to any of you people. I'm really sorry, but
But you weren't, and
oh, I
that's
was
life,
like
and it's
bad.
okay, and we're all glad you're better.
It wasn't COVID, but it was just horrible. And so today I've been out running my errands because it was so nice out. And so I took my flowers out. Oh,
Oh,
here's a resilience tie-in. Let's bring it back to the resilience tie-in. All right.
okay.
So I brought in
Oops, I keep
all of
doing that.
my,
Sorry, I keep.
that's
There we
okay.
go. Now you're full
Well,
screen.
well, you can do split screen if you want. That's not a problem. It's kind of fun because then I can actually see your face. And I
That's
feel as
true.
if I'm
Hi.
talking with you. So, but I love gardening. That's one of my things that I just love it. And so last fall, I brought in all of my geraniums and from the planters out front, and I put them in my furnace room with a grow light. And the grow
Yes,
lights,
I've seen that.
their grow lights have been on literally 24 hours a day since November.
Is that healthy for them?
Yes, because they switch the way that I have them. They switch their
Oh,
they rotate between the blue and the pink and the purple or whatever. So they kind of do like this timer thingy.
yeah.
But it's
Okay.
basically been on for I don't know 4 months, 5 months, whatever.
Yeah.
And I took them out today because I wanted them to have some really
Yeah. There's some
sun.
real sun.
Yeah, and it is a little chilly, so you want to. And the other thing is that a gardening term is you want to harden them off. You want to. It's a term especially for saplings or seedlings. You
Yeah.
want to harden them off. And you want to get them used to that transition between being in a climate controlled environment and cold or windy or whatever. So that is actually has to do with resilience.
Sorry, I'm just thinking of like I'm so sorry to interrupt, but like it just made me think of like maybe the difference between Californians and Chicagoans from a
Oh
temperature
God,
standpoint, or from
no.
like a
God bless them. You see people,
sustaining
you do, and
colder
it's
temperatures. Sorry,
well, I'm sure.
California.
No, it's. I'm sure that there's probably people in North Dakota who say the same thing about
Oh, well, yeah,
Chicagoans
I
because it's
wouldn't last the
freaking terrible up. It's cold up there.
listen,
Um,
you even get me in Minneapolis in
dude, yeah,
January, and
yeah.
I'm
It's the
shivering like
snow.
someone from Arizona. I'll
It's
not
the snow.
I'll pick on a bunch of warm states.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's though I feel so bad for them because they get off the plane and they come downtown
Yeah.
and they're just freezing to death,
Well, and then also
or
it's,
it's
like,
50
super
degrees,
windy.
or it's 50 degrees, and half of Chicago's naked, and the people from and the people from Florida are wearing like the Canada Goose parka because they're freezing at
Yeah.
50
I
degrees, and we're like,
literally
dude.
literally had sandals on. I was like, "My toes need to be free. I'm sorry." Sorry, not sorry. The
Yeah.
toes, I painted them. I was like, "That's it. They're they're gonna be free."
But
Anyways,
but
I'm
no, but
sorry. I
no,
interrupted rudely.
no, not at all. But that's kind of what it is that they spent at least 4 months in a suboptimal environment, right?
Yeah.
But they were conserving their strength, being kind of not at a subsistence level, but one where they got exactly what they needed in order to stay alive.
Yes, but nothing more.
But that's it. And so, now they're out in the sun, and I brought them back in again because it's going to get again cold tonight. But um,
Yeah.
doing those things in small doses, so that if you're in this space, dear reader or dear viewer, if you're in a space where you're doing something new, or you're trying something new, or you're starting a new regimen or whatever, first of all, I want to say, good for you. If you feel called to do something new and develop yourself, good. That's awesome. I celebrate you. Second of all, don't be too hard on yourself. Ease into things, do a little bit at a time. Don't, like if I were to leave the plants out tonight, that might get really cold, and, they might not survive till tomorrow morning. Who knows? And so don't push it. Just keep consistent, keep
Mhm.
scaling up incrementally, and making sure that you're doing that pulse check with yourself to see if I still want to go this direction. Do I still really want to pursue this goal? Do I still really feel aligned with it? Going back to what Christine said earlier about the align method, which that isn't directly the align method, but it does play into the align method. But you always want
Yes.
to make sure that for
Good point.
your best and brightest velocity and successes, you're going to want to make sure that you're always doing those pulse checks with you to make sure that you're doing what you want to be doing, and that's feeding you and serving you, and not making someone else happy at the
Yeah.
expense of you. There's nothing wrong with, watching a movie that you really don't particularly care for once in a while because your partner loves it.
Mm.
That's called not being an asshole. But
Right. Compromise. We
but
need to
compromise is good, but when you're not being true to yourself for the benefit of someone else, that's not healthy.
consistently for a long,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
for over the long haul. Yes, that is very different. I agree. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we're coming up on the hour. You want to can you remind the folks about Johanna coming up? Oop.
I muted
Uh-oh.
myself. I
There
muted
you go.
myself. So yeah, it's the berry. When I had it up and then I looked up convergence. So
Oh.
sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, it's I almost said January, but it is the 26th at 11 a.m. Central Time. So if you are in California, it'll be 2 hours earlier. And like Molly said, it's Johanna, also known as Mama Cuisine. She is going to talk to us about financial resilience and how you can build it. And it's going to be a really great discussion. So we hope you can join us. We'll, if like I said earlier at the very top of the discussion, if you aren't already subscribed to our newsletter, please go do that because we share all of the actual details on where you can subscribe, or I'm sorry, where you can join us for those discussions. Those will be in our newsletter. We'll also tell you about anything else that is going on that is exciting, and especially as Molly was saying, now that spring is upon us, there's a different air about us, both physically and mentally. And so there's going to be a lot of really good things to look forward to, and you don't want to miss any of them. So do go to meetfutureu with just a u.com and go to the free resources section and sign up for our newsletter. Yeah. Anything I'm forgetting, Molly?
Well, technically, it's not too late to be part of the hot seat if you want to. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a hot seat. Our group coaching, we have, again, we talked about Johanna as one of our guest experts.
Speakers.
Last month, we had Ed Kaplan, and we actually just had a great conversation earlier this morning with someone who attended that, and she lives out in the suburbs, Chicago suburbs, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I truly, truly loved that introduction to large language models." And so Joanna is coming up in a couple of weeks, and then April we're going to be talking about ADHD, ADHD, decluttering, spring cleaning. So one of the things about the collab is we have working sessions, and then we have hot seat sessions where we really get to do a deep dive about what's important to you. An opportunity for you to have an ask from the group and get like an extended set of help and hands, mental strength or whatever you want to call it from the group Hive Mind. So theoretically speaking, it's not too late. If you want to take a look at that and join tomorrow, you can be part of that session as well. But there's
and if you're in the future, it's still not too late. You just might miss Johanna's, and you'll just have to watch the replay in the portal instead of joining live. So
yeah. We try to keep that portal available to people because there is such a wealth of information in there that all has to do with helping you reach your highest potential as you set it for yourself. We're here, as I was explaining to somebody, if I'm not really a good bowler because I have these little chicken wrists, but sometimes what I like to think of, Christine and I, and we're more than this, but we're definitely, when you go bowling and they have the kids thing where they put the little bumpers in the gutters, we're the bumpers in the gutters to keep you guys supported and directed and moving in the direction you want to go. And we're your biggest fans.
Here. I'm having fun with tech while you're talking. Yeah, while you're full screen, I'm gonna make things.
Yeah, I know that's the scroll. Yeah, and as you can tell, people, this might be our format next week. We might be back to Zoom. We might do something different. We're really trying a whole bunch of stuff. So to any of you who are watching right now, you get to be the people in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years who says, "Oh yeah, I remember when they were doing this and remember that." And so you get to be the ground floor folks,
trying out different tech and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. I mean, is that not like the best metaphor for life?
Yes.
Is like we're just trying stuff. We're seeing what works, what doesn't. We're doing that from a messaging standpoint, from an offer standpoint, from a technical standpoint with these, who knows, maybe Empower Hour isn't something that will last forever. Maybe we'll find out that isn't what y'all want and we'll do something else. That is the approach that I know I try to take just to life in general of like, maybe it's because I came from a more startup-y type background of like break shit and go like fail fast, that kind of a
the other thing is, sorry about that, gosh darn it, is that one of the things that holds people back is the sunk cost fallacy.
Oh, absolutely.
But we've been dating for 10 years.
So what? If it's miserable,
well, if it's not serving you, then you need to maybe reconsider what is best for you. And so and this is another weird analogy, but it had to do with someone who made chicken soup. And it's not chicken soup for the soul.
I was just going to ask, but I was trying to.
Nope.
But so you read my mind.
I read. It was in one of those Reader's Digests or something like that. I can't remember, but it's like this anecdote about a woman who is going to make chicken noodle soup, and she opens up the refrigerator and she's got the carrots and the celery everything's fresh. She's got broth, she's got noodles, she's got all the spices are great. But the chicken, when she pulls it out of the bucket or out of the container, it's like just a little bit off. But she's like, oh, I bought this chicken.
Yeah.
And she ends up using the chicken that she knows. It's a little off. And it's never going to make good soup, right?
No.
But sometimes, so many times, we're like, I can cut off the moldy part. Then I'll put it in.
Listen, don't talk to me about my cheese habits.
Yeah, or well, cheese is different because cheese is mold. But I mean, but if your chicken doesn't smell good, don't make it into.
The dog heard me say cheese.
Did you hear this? Oh, well, don't use the W. Now you gotta. You hear it. Well, anyway, so my point is that a lot of times people make chicken soup with bad chicken, and they think, oh, maybe if I just put more pepper in, it'll be okay. No.
Oh.
Anyway. That was really far off there, but
no, but I mean, it's the kind of stuff that this is why we exist as FutureU, is that like those are real life issues and real life circumstances that like you and I have both stayed in relationships far too long. You know, I mean, we don't have to air our dirty laundry, you know, live on YouTube. However, we will in collab. So if you want the dirt,
yeah, there you go.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we've both like, and also like relationships stem beyond personal love relationships. Like I know I've stayed in jobs for far too long. I've stayed in like those kinds of relationships for far too long.
Maybe they'll finally pay me what I'm worth. Maybe they'll finally recognize my value.
Exactly. Like someday they'll see. No, they don't see it now. They're not gonna. Oh, wait, what was that?
They probably won't.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So cut your losses. Like you learned. Like I love one of my favorite phrases recently. Sorry, puppy. I'm like emphasizing on him, but they're pets, right? Is there's no failure, only feedback, right? Like society has trained us to fear failure so much to where we are paralyzed. And it's bullshit, frankly, because so long as you don't die,
right?
Like, okay, surgeons can fail. Okay, doctors, like that's life or death. Like I have had a specific creative director. Thank you, Mike D. You're amazing. Like tell me Morty's my nickname. He's like, Morty, no one dies in marketing. I was so upset about making a mistake one day. And he's like, Morty, nobody dies in marketing. And I'm like, oh, right. I'm sorry that this mistake happened and I learned from it. And I would like to think that I never made it again. It was so long ago, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a printing error. I don't do print anymore, so that truly probably hasn't happened again. But no one died. It wasn't that egregious. It was something to learn from, and we move on. So anyways, so that is and that builds resilience. And so to bring it back to the magic hat, we got there, Molly. You're probably like the whole time you're like, bring it back to the point, Morty.
No, not at all. No, tonight's was just like a free-for-all, which was actually fine. I'm okay with that. We had a great conversation.
It's funny. I was kind of thinking, I was like, the magic hat really affords us just like a thing to talk about that we just. And I also love that we don't know what it's going to be. Like, yeah, we have a general. It's going to be something about mindset development, and it's going to be something in our wheelhouse. But when we start getting more and more live viewers, we're going to have no idea what you're going to want to talk about. Again, within reason. If you want to start talking about something like Pornhub, like no,
not happening.
No. However, boundaries are self-care. So, anyways, it's a great, I think, just a great mechanism for us to have a discussion around. And as you can see in this episode, maybe a little more than others, but in all of them, we go on tangents, but we do come back to the main topic at some point. So life is but a tangent, a series of tangents and tributaries. So
Yep.
And on that,
It
shall we
worked.
wish you adieu?
Yeah. 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 I hope to
Why am I
see.
trying to speak French? I don't speak French.
Well, I know a little au peu français, but it's
Ooh,
very rusty. But
more
yeah,
than
no,
me.
next Tuesday, and we'll aim
Every
for
Tuesday
6.
at 6. Yeah, we aim for 6. I love that. When we have new technology, sometimes it's 6:15.
But yes,
We'll be
we'll aim
here.
for 6.
I think next week. Next
Oh,
week.
habits.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were gonna talk about habit stacking. So next week. So we wanted to do this last week, but Molly unfortunately was sicker than sick. Oh my goodness, it was just we didn't want to do that to her. We didn't want to do that to you. We didn't, it was just better that she's still recovering. So, but we had planned a topic. We did want to start introducing, like we said, we're iterating. We do want to at least plan a specific topic so you know what you're getting into and why you're tuning in, except for just the lovely joy of seeing us have a conversation, talk about brain stuff. We were going to talk about habit stacking, so we're going to do that next week, and then we are also going to do magic hat. So get your questions in, and we will address them.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you
And I
so
mean
much.
that for you too, Molly.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Yes, this is I enjoy this. I do enjoy this. I hope others start to enjoy it as well.
They will. They do.
Yeah. It's all going in the book.
It's all going in the book.
Yep. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Be good to yourselves, be good to others, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central.